Yo, what's going on, chat? Gonna play some more Getting Over It today. Wanted to talk about the movie Iron Lung. Um, I went and saw that movie yesterday with my girlfriend. We went to the local theater, the local movie theater, um, and uh, watched Iron Lung. And it was well, it was a movie for sure. Um, I think it's like important to note that I'm pretty sure it was written and directed by Mr. Markiplier. Um, Not to mention acted, obviously. The obviously a near one man show. Although a good amount of the supporting cast was uh present. I think I mean at least an hour of it was all solo work, if not more. Um, which actually brings me to the first thing I wanted to talk about: the fact that the movie is 2 hours long. Jeez Louise. Let's see if I can get my hammer up there. Whatever. I was not expecting the movie to be that long. Um, I thought it like maybe an hour 30 at most. Um, but no, it had like a full 2 hour runtime. Um, which like I think it's cool, right, that he was able to make the movie that long, but I wouldn't really say that the runtime was used to its full advantage. Um, there was definitely some like pacing issues that both my girlfriend and I noticed. I think my girlfriend isn't as much of a Markiplier fan as I am, so her opinion was more like, I guess unbiased in like, um, how the movie like actually affected her and was made. Which is goes to say as well that she also hasn't played Iron Lung. Um, so you could like make the argument that maybe the movie wasn't for her, right? But um I think like the movie is should still be any movie should still be watchable without having like been a fan of either Markiplier nor Iron Lung. Um I think that's like in a reasonable case to make, that like you shouldn't have to have this like prerequisite knowledge before watching a movie. Um Necessarily. You can make some arguments in other cases, but I think this is one of those movies that like it should have stood on its own merit without having considered Markiplier's past or Iron Lung as a game. And with that said, I actually think Markiplier did great as an actor. I think his acting was pretty consistently good throughout the movie. You can make the argument that he was overacting some scenes, and I'll slightly agree, sure, but I think like if you know Mark, if you've seen his stuff before, and obviously that contradicts completely the point I had just made that it should stand alone, but if you know Mark, and have watched his videos, this is about like what the kind of acting that you'd expect. If not like honestly toned down. Now, elephant in the room, Markiplier, when filming a horror video or whatever, will play up his reactions for the camera. That's just how the game goes. But even then, I think honestly, all that experience of yelling at digital animatronics throughout the years was probably more of a benefit than a detractor for him. Cause yeah, I thought like his serious lines were delivered pretty well. Didn't like take away from anything. His like freaking out lines I thought were delivered well. You could feel the old Markiplier in there. Um, yeah, that is to say, I thought Mark's acting was pretty good. I thought the supporting actors were also pretty good. Um, None of them like took away from uh the like, I guess, severity of their situations, I guess, right? Um like, you know, the first example I would think of something that takes away from this like severity of a situation is like in Silent Hill 2, when uh James goes into the bowling alley, meets Eddie, and drops the line like, "There are zombies out there and you're eating pizza?" Something like that. I don't know it by heart. I'm sorry. Um but like, you know, that's one of those lines that like you hear it and it kind of takes you out a little bit. It's not really well delivered. It's not well written either. It's out of place. I'm happy to say that there were no such lines, in my opinion. There were no such lines that felt so severely out of place that it made the movie worse. What did kind of not really click though was like the world building. I will say, like, we they wanted to go for this idea of fleshing out the world of Iron Lung. And if you ever played Iron Lung, admittedly I haven't. The exposure to Iron Lung I had was watching my friend stream it on Discord one night for like 30 minutes. I think that should be stated too. The actual runtime of Iron Lung is like 30 minutes to an hour. You could probably beat it 2 or 3 times. Well, I say beat, more like play through it. You could play through it like 2 or 3 times before, like 2 or 3 times throughout the movie's runtime, I should say. Which is pretty crazy, but I'm pretty sure most of the lore you get from Iron Lung is like this message at the start. Like I think it's like just maybe 2 paragraphs, maybe a page, that like kind of sort of describes like what's going on after like something called the Quiet Rapture. The world is out of resources and you're going down as a prisoner into a blood ocean of some moon that they discovered or whatever. It's a very heavy paraphrase, but you get me, especially if you've played or watched the movie. You get me. Shit. So I think the movie doesn't really handle the world building that well. It feels like, I don't want to say it's sloppily handled. I think they paced it just way too slow. You get like bits and pieces throughout the movie of like kind of what's going on, and you know, I get what they're going for. It's been done many times, but to me it just didn't really land. It didn't really connect. I don't know, like, obviously it's like written by Mark. When it says it's written, I assume like he did most of like the direction and probably some of like the screenwriting, like the script and stuff. And I also would assume the pacing. I'm just gonna restart this one. I'm gonna assume that Mark kind of did out the pacing, and the pacing is not that great. And the world building you get from the pacing is like, it's a little too choppy, I think. I don't know. I should preface, I probably should have prefaced from the start, but whatever. I'll midface midway through that I am not a movie critic. I'm just going based off of like however I felt about the movie. It was a very like unfortunate feeling. I wasn't overwhelmed and I wasn't underwhelmed, as people would say. I was perhaps just whelmed. Um, like that's kind of how I feel. The movie was like, I don't know, maybe like a 6.5, 7 on if you're being very generous. Um, but I think, and to get completely off track here, uh, uh, there's things about the pacing, but I think there's probably people more qualified to explain like how it could have been done better. That's just how it kind of felt to me. However, I feel, and this is probably more of like a optimistic takeaway, I want to see more from Mark. I don't want this to be like a stain on his record. I don't even think it's like that much of a stain. It was pretty good. I think like given the correct direction, the movie probably could have been quite a lot better. But you know, Mark having done the writing and the screenplay, or like the direction, assumedly by himself, probably with like some guidance of like professionals. Mark having done it, I'd say probably mostly by himself, assumedly. It was pretty good. As far as I'm aware, he has no formal like training, like no film school degree or anything like that. So, you know, you can like kind of feel it. It feels amateurish with a good budget. I'll say like the set was cool. The movie's entirely set on the little submarine iron lung that he's in. And I thought it was cool. I think it was well made. Definitely like a very cool thing to watch. But yeah, optimistic take. I want to see more from Mark. I want to see him maybe star as an actor in some other movie, some other role that can like utilize him and his acting chops. I think he did great as the lead in this movie. I think he could do good as a lead in another movie that caters towards like what he's good at, which is yelling, I guess. No, but I'd love to see him either act or even try another project similar to Iron Lung that he writes and directs. It could be cool. Now I think the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about was sort of the, I guess, weird physics. I don't know if they consulted with like engineers on the set or anything, but there are some realistic issues that would prop up with being in the submarine, in the iron lung. And you know, this, I'm saving this section for last because it's pretty frivolous, I'd say. This is like the CinemaSins style of like commentary, like pointing out plot holes and that kind of stuff. But I mean, let's get over one of the obvious ones. There's a scene where Mark is crossing wires. All right, he's crossing a few wires, completely exposed, exposed wires with no insulator. He has like no gloves on. He's just doing it barehanded. Yeah, that's like a big no-no. That would probably get him killed. Let's be for real. So yeah, that was that was a little weird. I think the other one that is also could be pretty obvious, though. I mean, maybe some people just don't know, but like, you know, we all heard about the Titanic the Titan submersible, and the tragedy there. Uh, the pressure in those depths, any sort of leak in a hull would just mean like instant collapse of the vessel. Yeah, there would be no survival. There's like scenes where there's like blood leaking through and all that. No, that's absolutely not. That would not be how that went at all. I'd also like think like blood is probably denser than water. I don't know. I assume blood is denser than water. So being down there in that pressure, like even more so than water, yeah, no, not good. Um so yeah, there were kind of those inconsistencies in which like they're just like logic and physics inconsistencies. It's not like the biggest turn off. I think you can still watch the film and think it was good, like even with those things existing. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Yeah, don't touch exposed wires, and don't get a leak in your pressure hole, because you'll die really fast. I guess that's all from me. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. I recently had this like Skibbity toilet video pop off. I don't know. Yeah, it has like 200 something views right now. Kind of sick. It netted me 2 subscribers, 2 whole new subscribers. I'm at 3 subscribers now. I don't know why they subscribed. Okay, because like I'm just gonna assume that they're like 5-year-olds. And maybe 5-year-olds these days, like they'll just subscribe to whatever video has Skibbity toilet in the title. But I don't know. I have 2 new subscribers. I don't even think most of them watched the video. I think they just like click on it, watch for like 45 seconds, realize that it's not Coco Melon and not Skibbity toilet, so they just click off immediately. All right, so basically I gamed the system and clickbaited a bunch of 2-year-olds. So GG's to me. And well, rant over. Have a nice day. Peace.